Here's the fun part. We offer a variety of solutions to fit your needs. That's what I love about Applied Imaging is the fact that we have a diverse array of software solutions. We meet with you in person, on the phone, whatever it might be, and talk about what your needs are. Do a discovery, and then from there we can recommend a solution for you because we offer so many software solutions. So addressing things like human resources, AP automation, workflows, forms are big right now, and one you may not be familiar with is RPA, robotic process automation. Basically, the ability to have repeated tasks done. For example, if you have a report that has to be run 365 days a year and somebody has to do it and then upload it to another system, that can be done by RPA. So it allows a lot of softwares to talk together. And of course, contract management and more. And Mark, thank you. We've got your back. Here's some things you may not know about Applied Imaging. Shred Hub, we have a division that will come in and take care of those paper documents for you with bins on site, or if you're working at home, we have secure bags. Backfile conversion services to take care of all that paper that's still accumulating while we're moving through today's new world. NetSmart would be our network folks who can supply you with all the IT needs you need, from workstations all the way up to network support and security. PrintSmart is our managed print services. If you've got Lexmarks, HPs, all those printers across the office, we can take care of them for you as well. Document scanners, of course, to get the information in. We offer those on top of multifunction. You're familiar with that. And of course, today we're talking about document management. Here's one you may not know. We offer temperature measurement kiosks. Basically, an employee can walk up within a foot or less of the device that automatically reads their temperature. And if you want the option of facial recognition, we have that as well.
So I think many of us are here because we're experiencing a brand new world where we're being forced to work at home, and a lot of the resources that are typically available to us by being local are no longer available to us. And what we're finding is that simple VPN isn't going to help us solve our problem because it's too slow, and having people not right over the cubicle wall available to collaborate with and share information with is creating a lot of challenges. But we really need solutions to help us all continue to row in the same direction. Let's talk a little bit about DocuWare. It's the company, it's the product. DocuWare's been around for 30 years. We started as a very simple storage and retrieval tool that allowed you to scan paper and find that document, and we've evolved into a true enterprise class platform that can allow you to store virtually anything that you might collect digitally within your company. It might be scanned paper, it might be the files that are on your shared drives, it might be video or audio. And we can collect those documents via email, monitoring email addresses, monitoring your multifunction devices. We have a tool that allows you to produce, and we collect digital forms, all stored in a secure repository. Think of this as a database for your documents. And around that, we wrap retention-based rules. We wrap workflow ideas that, based on a document's status, it may kick off a workflow process and alert people that work needs to be done. And you have the ability to consume all that content from your PC, your mobile devices, and get access from that content anywhere in a secure fashion. So that's how we're solving that previous problem of providing access to folks that are now in the field. So today we're going to focus on a very narrow capability of DocuWare, the DocuWare platform, and that is delivering e-signatures, or using e-signatures to help you solve one of the problems that have been created by not being able to drop by a customer with a contract and have them wet sign it and pick it up and roll out of the business. So digital signatures are the answer to that. They are the tool that allows you to replace the wet ink signature that many of us collect today with a legally admissible signature. We can do that via tablet, via PC. It's important to note, without digging into the technology too far, that it's extremely secure. Documents are encrypted in transport. There are multi-factor authentication tools so that you can prove who has signed that document, and these documents are legally admissible in court. The Association for Information and Image Management, or AIM, did some studies, and they started asking customers like you about, why they might look at or why they do use digital signatures. And some of the key ones that caught my eye, that these 30% of processes are delayed by a week. That's a week where you're waiting for a go-ahead for a contract or an order or any number of signable documents. 49% of signatures are collected from folks that are outside of your organization. So there's a lot of reasons why digital signatures can help you with not only your current processes that were created by our work at home environment, but just general business processes. So you may be familiar with various digital signature tools. You're probably familiar with DocuSign. We are partnering with DocuSign. We also have other digital signature tools. And of course, you can license those independently, but where things really bring benefits is when we embed the signing capabilities into a very flexible workflow so that the signing process is just one piece of the flow. And beforehand, we may have, there's the completion of the contract can be part of the flow, the collection and storage of that contract, then the emailing. So you can pop the signature process into any state of your workflow process, which is where the power is. And we always know that we're collecting and storing a valid copy of that contract or executed document. So there's a myriad of places that digital signatures make sense. I'm in sales. Signing contracts is an important piece of our business, and digital signatures help us do that. Perhaps you've signed a mortgage document. Leasing documents are other valid cases. We're going to step through a little use case showing you how you can use this to sign a couple different types of contracts here. So what we're going to show you is I'm going to introduce you to DocuWare real quickly. We're in that, once we've learned a little bit about what the environment looks like, we're going to collect a couple contracts that need signing. We're going to present that to the contract manager where he can do a final review of that contract. This is all before the signature process and driven by a DocuWare workflow. The workflow will send that document to the client via email for signature, and we can facilitate any number of validation approaches to prove who they are. Management has visibility into a dashboard to see where all the contracts are, and at the end of the process, we'll just collect one of these documents signed and store it in DocuWare, and we'll show you the signature. Quickly describing what you're seeing here is a super clean, easy to use, let's call it your new digital desktop, digital dashboard. So on the right-hand side is where we'll view documents, unlike shared drives or Outlook when you click on a file and it looks for the application that created the product to view the document. So if it's Word doc, it launches Word. We present the document right there for you. On the left is where we will collect documents. They sit in a digital tray, a document tray, waiting for you to process the documents. Just kind of working through our menu here quickly, we've got the ability to, of course, search for content. And that is a critical aspect of this solution because the documents, once they're stored, need to be instantly accessible and findable through the process. And we'll show at the end of this process where all these documents have landed in some searching concepts. We've got an idea of a dashboard through this concept of lists. And I'll just open this up real quickly. I'm going to show you that, this might be the contract manager's list of activities that they want to review on a daily basis. So here we've got an active search running that shows all of the executed contracts, and we can see that at this time there are no signed contracts that have been signed today, and there are no contracts out for signature. We're also going to see work landing in this task item here, which is presenting work to internal team members for processing. So let's just start out by generating a contract for signature. And in this case, I'm working in Microsoft Word, and I've got a subcontractor agreement that I've populated with various details. We're going to pretend I'm a roller coaster company and I'm sending something to Cedar Point. Now I want to submit this to DocuWare to kick off the workflow process. And I can do that very easily. We've all printed to PDF, which files a copy of that to your desktop. In this case, I'm going to print to DocuWare, which in fact renders a PDF version of this contract and drops it into the tray that we just talked about. So here we'll see there are 3 documents out there. Here is the PDF version of our contract. You can see here that It's all ready to go. We've got our we've actually collected originally no signatures. So we're going to store this in our file cabinet. And I'll do that by simply clicking on this page, my store button. And I want to store it in my contracts. I want to store it and send it out for signatures. So first of all, I need to, in terms of filing it, I need to describe the document. So I'm going to, through our point and click indexing, select the data I want to use for filing here. And I'm going to point and click at Cedar Point. I'm going to point at the subcontractor agreement detail. I'll point and click at the date here. It reads that data right out of scanned paper or PDF documents or whatever you have. Here I'm going to select my email address from a pull down list, so it sends to me. And I want to tell it that in this case, I'm just going to skip the authentication process. Just knowing their email is enough for me. And we're going to store that document in DocuWare. What we'll see here very quickly is that, of course, our task list has identified that we've got contract that's ready in the signature process, and we've got a task that's woken up that has been presented to our contract manager, so they can take a final look at things before the contract's sent out. Now, just another interesting quick idea here. I'm going to open a DocuWare form that could be open from your mobile device or your PC, and we're going to create a second contract here. I'm just going to collect the data that I want to drop into a standard non-disclosure agreement. So let's pre-fill all this data here. We're going to send this to Flying Tom Germany, and I'm going to send it to the president. Here's his email address. And acting as the sales rep who's sending this out, I'm going to apply my first signature and tell it that I want to give that individual an access code number that they need to key in to open the document. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm collecting this data. I'm now going to paste that into contract template. And what we'll see here is that we're going to have a second contract type presented to us. It happens to be our non-disclosure agreement, and we took the data that we put in there, Flying Tom Germany, and dropped it into the right locations. We even pasted the sales rep signature into this location here. So as an administrator, I have the ability to take a quick last look at this document before I send it out. I can see, yes, it's for Peter. I can change some of the details on this contract if I want. I know I'm going to send it to this email. I know I'm going to use the access code method. And when I click confirm, we are now going to take that document, present it to DocuSign or Validated ID or whoever your preferred vendor that we support is for digital signature. Now I'm going to go to my personal email box here, and we should very shortly see an alert from DocuSign saying that there is a non-disclosure available for signature for our client. And we've got instructions here that have been developed in the workflow. I have the option of reviewing this document right now. Selecting that allows me to enter my access code 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can click on validate. So now I've authenticated both because I knew the email address of that person, number one, and number two, the secret code that I gave them was entered into the DocuWare, the DocuSign instance. I have the option to start signing, and here I've configured this particular form to insist that I store in this location. But it gives me a couple options. I can store via a stamp, which is one alternative, or I can draw with my mouse or my finger on a tablet or a signature device if you choose to. So I'm going to click on sign. And when I say finish, we have now completed the signing process. DocuSign is completing its process of embedding that digital signature in the document. It creates what we call a PDF/A or archive style document, which means nobody can edit that document. You can't modify the hash code that was given to us by DocuSign. There is an identifiable stamp that's been embedded into the document, proving that that document has been signed by the DocuSign systems. Whoever's responsible for non-disclosure agreements here has the ability to take one last look at this document here, and we'll notice here that at the top it tells us that it's been signed by DocuSign. We've actually pasted the signature that I dropped in there in this location, and we can see here from our dashboard that in fact we have visibility into, there's one contract out for signature, and when I complete this task and the dashboard finishes, I I accept this proposal. That document is stored in DocuWare, and we've got a historical record of that document. So here we can see that, in fact, we now can see that we have one contract that's been signed today, and management has visibility into that process. So you can see every step of the way. And we know also that we've added another contract from the 11 we had earlier to these 12 contracts. So let's do a quick search here. Where you store this is an important piece of this. Part of the contract process is after things are signed, oftentimes your sales rep or whoever's responsible doesn't get that document back into the archive. But what's really happened here is that I have stored that document away in a document database that allows me to go out and search for, let's just search for all contracts that have been stored today. And my search will produce a list of all contracts that were stored today. In this case, it just happens to be our single contract. So some of the cool things when you're in DocuWare, once you're digitally working with this in place of your shared drives or using email as a repository or your paper files, are you have the ability to do things like annotated documents. So you can mark up this document in any way that you like. You can also potentially redact a portion of a document. So if I wanted to redact a small portion of this, I drop that in. Now that does not change the original contract. It simply is an overlay that allows us to paste data on top of it, kind of a digital Post-it note. On top of that, if I want to share this with anyone outside of the organization, let's say 6 months later, Flying Tom Germany calls me and says, hey, I don't have a copy of that contract. Can you share with me? I can very simply say, I want to send this document without my annotations as a PDF to my client, or I can send it in its original format, or internally, I can send a link to that document that allows you to click on it and open the document after you've entered your user ID and password, or you've been validated by single sign-in. So what we've seen is we've created a couple different contracts through a couple of different methods. One of them was a templatized, one of them I created on my desktop and filed away. They kicked off a workflow, management reviewed stuff, it got sent up for signature. We filed the signed document, and by the way, back at our customer's desktop, they have gotten an automatic email with a copy of that non-disclosure agreement for them to save away in their files.
Got a couple questions for you here. If you're sending out a document to be signed using DocuSign or one of the digital signature softwares, does the person receiving have to have the software?
No, they do not have to have DocuWare. When they're sent that link that we're seeing back here, when they're sent that email requesting that they sign stuff, it is simply a URL link that launches to a website that manages everything. There's no downloadable software, and there's no licensing required. The owner of the system does require a valid DocuWare system and a valid DocuSign contract, and each one of these documents there's a cost to utilizing the tool.
If you mentioned, using a form, creating one, what if we get a contract from a client? Can that be dropped in to the software and used with DocuSign? How does that work?
We can get that. We can very easily either scan that from our DocuWare desktop into the system. We've got this option to scan from our desktop, or you could use your multifunction devices and point it at this tray as well. Or if it was email, we could monitor email addresses and sweep them in here automatically. Based on that, we can have a generic signing process that we initiate. And in the case that you saw here, I had kind of a fixed location for signature. For stuff like ad hoc contracts, I would say that you probably want to facilitate just the ability to allow people to sign wherever they choose to, so that way you didn't have to develop any personalized, you didn't have to personalize every contract. But basically it's getting them into the tray, storing them with the right storage attributes, and it will wake up a workflow.
Be sure to go to the website, www.appliedimaging.com/paperless2020 for other webinars that are coming up or things you might want a recording of.